Activity 2.3, using absolute value to solve real-world problems. In many buildings, particularly outside of the United States, the ground floor of a building is labeled as G, or lobby. The first floor of the building is one floor above the ground floor. The building pictured has a lobby, 10 floors of offices, and 4 floors of garage below the lobby. Okay. Melanie has an office on the 9th floor and parks on the 3rd floor below the ground floor. Taylor and Cecilia are determining how many floors Melanie must go up from her car to reach her office. Taylor represents the 9th floor as 9 and the 3rd floor below ground as -3. Therefore, since 9 minus 3 equals 6, Melanie traveled 6 floors to get from her car to her office. Cecilia says that the ground floor to the 9th floor is 9 floors, and from the ground floor to the 3rd garage level is 3 floors. Melanie traveled the absolute value of 9 plus the absolute value of -3 equals 9 plus 3, which equals 12 floors. Who is correct? Cecilia is correct. Okay. You must add the distances of floors from the garage to Melanie's office. Okay. And I can even use the picture here. If she was 3 floors below and then she was on the 9th floor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to go up. And so we took the absolute value of 9 and the absolute value of -3 and added them together to get the 12 floors she'd have to travel to get from here all the way up to here. All right, write a numeric expression using absolute values that would represent each situation. Then calculate the answer. Caleb parks his car on the 2nd floor below ground and works on the 7th floor. How many floors must he go up from his car to reach his office? Well, that would be 9 floors. So this is just like the example on the last page. Lucinda is working on the 8th floor. At lunch, she goes to her car on the 4th floor below ground and then back up to the lobby. How many total floors does Lucinda travel? Let's see here. We have 16. If Damon goes from his office to the 10th floor, on the 10th floor to a meeting on the 5th floor, how many floors does he travel and in which direction? Five floors down. Okay. 2. The top-notch company's bank balances are shown. The table represents the first 10 weeks of operation. Overdrafts are represented by amounts within parentheses, so it's like negative numbers. So use estimation to determine the gains or losses between consecutive weeks. So to go from here to here, there was about, let's see here, 150 to minus 200 is about a 360 loss. From here to here is what's from negative 200 or 200 below to it would be about $430 gain. From 3 to 4, it was about 230 to almost 450 below, and so that would have been about in parentheses, 680. It went down just about, maybe a little bit more. From here to here, it went up from negative 450 to negative 156. And so that would have been $300 that it went up. And then from here, there's $12 more left. Oh no. But it would have went up. It would have went up just about $145. Then from here, it went up again, and it would have went up just about $270. From here to here, it went down, and it went down just about $95. So in parentheses, showing it went down. From here to here, it went up, and it went up just about $15. And then last one here, it went up, and it went up, let's see here, about $20. Okay. And so I answered all of those questions up there. And I was just looking at what the difference was from here to here. And then if it's negative, I thought of it as being the absolute value. Between which 2 weeks did Top Notch have the largest gain in money? The largest gain in money looks to be from weeks 2 to 3 was $430. Between which 2 weeks did Top Notch have the largest loss in money? Well, that would have been the following weeks then. From weeks 3 to 4, it was a drop of $680. Woof! What is the difference between the company's lowest balance and its highest balance? Oh, okay. So its lowest balance on this whole chart here was 456.45. And so then I would take the absolute value of negative 456.45. Oops, absolute value is a straight line. I would subtract it. I would add it to the biggest balance of 200, absolute value of 281 and 34 cents. And then my total value there would have been $737.79. That was the difference from that week, from the lowest to the highest. There is that much of a difference between the balances there. Okay. Order the estimated gains and losses that you determined in Part A from least to greatest. Use a negative sign to indicate losses. All right, so if I'm looking at that previous thing, our biggest loss was about 600. Biggest loss was 680. So then our next one was 4. Sorry, looking at this sheet right here. Looking at these right here. As I'm looking at those right there, I have 680, and then I would have negative 360. Then I would have negative 95. Then I would have 15, and then 20, and then 145, and then 270, and then 300, and then 430. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Now it says order the estimated gains and losses that you determine in Part A from least to greatest according to their absolute values. So the absolute value would be doing that. So we would have from 15, 20, 95, 145, 270, 300, 360, 430, and then 680. Because all the negatives turn into positives there. And then this would be how far each week was from the break-even point. Each week was from the break-even point. Why are the orders different in parts E and F? Well, this one is negative numbers, negative and positive numbers. And then this one right here is absolute values. How far they are away from zero. And so the order changes because the negatives all become positives. Okay. As part of a long-term science experiment, 2 rulers were connected at zero and used to measure the water level in a pond. The connected rulers were placed in the pond so that the water level aligned at zero. The water level was measured each week for 10 weeks. Okay? So if I'm thinking about this here, at week 1, the water level was at 2 3/4. So if I look at these rulers, it was at 2 3/4 at week, let's see here, half right there. So that was week 1. At week 2 is negative 2 1/8. So it would have been right there for week 2. Okay? And so that's where the water would be. What do the positive numbers represent? What do the negative numbers represent? Positive are above our 0 mark on the rulers. And then negative numbers are below the 0 mark on the rulers. Okay? Between which 2 weeks did the water level change the most? What was the change? Okay. So if I'm looking here, from here to here, that was nearly, let's see here, 6/8, 7/8. That was 4 7/8. Okay. And so I'm looking here. This would have been 3, 4. So not the 7/8. This would have been 2 something. This would have been 1.5. This would have been like less than 1. This would have been 2. This would have been just over 2. This would have been 3.25. This would have been less than 2. All right. So between week 1 and week 2, and then it was 4 and 7/8 inches. Okay. Between which 2 weeks did the water level change the least? All right. So if I'm looking here, if I was thinking back, I think from here to here was pretty low, but also from here to here it was pretty low. I think if I'm looking at those again, from 5 to 6 would have been, and they're both positive. So 1 1/8 minus 3/4. 1 1/8 minus 3/4. And that would have been 6/8. So 1 1/8 minus 6/8. 1/8 is smaller than 6/8. I'd borrow from the 1. It'd become 8/8. And so we'd have 9/8 minus 6/8, which would be 3/8. So that was between weeks 5 and 6. And then there would have been 3/8 of an inch change. How much did the water level change between weeks 4 and 5? What was the change? All right. So from 4 to 5, 4 it was negative 3/4. And week 5 was 3/4. And so it's 3/4 plus 3/4, which was 6/4, which is 1.5. So it was 1.5 inches. Okay. And so here we've been thinking about some absolute value concepts with like levels, like elevation, like in a building, with gains and losses with money, and then with falls and rises of water. So it's kind of like elevation of water.